Ryan Carter's hands shook on the wheel. 10 minutes. 10 minutes to the interview that would save everything. Then he saw her business suit, rain-soaked, stranded beside a BMW. He should have kept driving, should have chosen Sophie, chosen survival, chosen himself for once. But his dead wife's voice whispered in his head, "We help people, Ryan. Always." So he stopped, fixed her tire, missed his shot at salvation. What he didn't know, that soaked stranger was Amanda Brooks, the CEO who was about to change his life forever. Hit subscribe right now. Stay until the end, because this story will prove that sometimes the worst decision you ever make turns out to be the best one. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this message travels. Now, let's go. I just threw away my daughter's future for someone who won't remember my name tomorrow. Ryan Carter said it out loud, and his truck hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Rain hammering the windshield like the universe itself was trying to stop him. The dashboard clock glowed 8:17 a.m. Interview started at 8:30. He was still 20 minutes out. The math was simple. He wasn't going to make it. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. Sophie. Another good luck text. The fifth one this morning. Each one a knife in his chest because she believed in him completely the way only an 8-year-old daughter could believe in her father, who was currently drowning in unpaid rent and empty promises. 3 months behind on rent. The landlord's last warning had come Tuesday. 2 weeks, he'd said. 2 weeks or you're out. Ryan had nodded, shaken the man's hand, and walked back inside to where Sophie was doing homework at their kitchen table, humming some song from school, completely unaware that her whole world was balanced on the edge of a cliff. This interview was the rope, the only rope. And Ryan was watching it slip through his fingers mile by mile. His foot hit the accelerator harder, like speed could somehow fix time itself. The truck's engine rattled in protest. 15 years old, 200,000 miles held together with prayers and duct tape, just like everything else in Ryan's life. The radio talk show host droned on about bootstraps and opportunity and the American dream. Some economist explaining how anyone could make it if they just worked hard enough, just believed enough, just wanted it badly enough. Ryan snapped it off. He'd heard enough about dreams. Dreams didn't pay for Sophie's school lunches. Dreams didn't stop the collection agencies from calling. Dreams didn't bring Emma back. Emma. God, he missed her. 3 years gone, and sometimes he still reached across the bed in the morning expecting to find her there. Still set out 2 coffee cups before remembering. Still heard her voice in his head at moments like this. We help people, Ryan, even when it hurts, especially then. She'd said that to him on their second date 17 years ago when he'd stopped to help an old man change a tire and made them late for the movie. Emma had just smiled, squeezed his hand, and said those words. A month later, she'd agreed to marry him. Said she'd fallen in love with him right there on the side of the road, watching him help a stranger. Ryan blinked hard, focused on the road, on the clock. 8:19 a.m. That's when he saw her. At first just a dark shape through the rain. Then his headlights caught it, clear black BMW hood, up white smoke or steam rising into the storm. And beside it, a woman in what looked like an expensive pantsuit, completely soaked, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing frantically at nothing and no one. Ryan's foot moved to the brake before his brain could stop it. No, don't you dare. You don't have time. Sophie needs this. You need this. But the truck was already slowing. His hands were already turning the wheel. Emma's voice was already in his head. We help people, Ryan. Always. Emma, I can't. Not today. Please, not today. The truck stopped anyway. Ryan sat there for 5 full seconds. Engine running, wipers beating back and forth. Watching this stranger stare at her engine like it had personally betrayed her. Her hair was plastered to her face. Her white blouse was transparent from the rain. Her shoes, expensive heels, were completely impractical for standing on a muddy highway shoulder. She looked utterly, completely lost. The kind of loss that Ryan recognized. The kind he saw in his own mirror every morning. 8:19 a.m. became 8:20. Ryan closed his eyes, took 1 breath, 2. Made his decision. Grabbed his father's old toolbox from behind the seat, the one thing he had left from the man who'd taught him everything about engines, and nothing about how to survive when the world knocked you down. Pulled his hood up, stepped out into the storm. The rain hit like a physical force. Cold. Angry. Within 3 seconds, Ryan was as soaked as she was. He jogged over, raising his voice to be heard over the downpour and the occasional truck roaring past on the highway. Ma'am, you need help! She spun around and Ryan got his first clear look at her. Mid-40s, maybe? Sharp features that might have been striking if they weren't currently arranged in an expression of pure frustration mixed with relief. Designer glasses spotted with rain, and gray eyes that assessed him in about half a second. Drenched man in a worn Carhartt jacket holding a rusted toolbox appearing out of nowhere on a deserted highway in the middle of a thunderstorm. Ryan could see her calculating, friend or threat, help or danger. He stayed where he was, let her decide. "Yes," she said finally, having to shout over the rain. "Yes, please, it just died. I was driving, and it started smoking and making this noise, and then it just stopped." Ryan moved to the engine, already scanning with the trained eye of someone who'd been doing this since he was 12 years old, learning at his father's side in their two-car garage in Gary, Indiana. Burst radiator hose coolant everywhere. Serpentine belt shredded. Classic overheating cascade failure. $30 fix if you had the parts and knew what you were doing. $1,000 tow and repair bill if you didn't. "When'd you last have it serviced?" he asked, already reaching for tools. "I don't know. My assistant handles that." Of course she does, Ryan thought, but didn't say. Rich people problems. Must be nice to have assistants. Must be nice to afford a BMW in the first place. Must be nice to not know when your car was last serviced because someone else took care of it for you. But Emma's voice again. "Don't judge. Just help. You don't know her story." "Okay," Ryan said, leaning in closer. "How far were you going?" "Brooks Automotive, about 15 miles south. I have a meeting. A very important meeting." Ryan's hands stopped moving. He looked up at her through the rainwater running down his face. "Brooks Automotive." "Yes, why do you know it?" "Because that's exactly where I'm supposed to be in 10 minutes, he didn't say. Because that's the job interview that's supposed to save my daughter's life. Because that's the last shot I have at keeping a roof over our heads. Because the universe apparently has a sick, twisted sense of humor." "No reason," he managed. "I can fix this. Temporarily. Get you there. But it'll take maybe 10-15 minutes. She glanced at her watch, a Rolex Ryan noticed, probably worth more than his truck, and her face tightened with stress. "I can't be late. I really, really can't be late." "Then we'd better hurry." Ryan worked fast. His hands moved with the muscle memory of someone who'd been turning wrenches since before he could drive. Bypassed the radiator hose with some spare tubing from his kit. Always carried spares his father had drilled that into him. Rig the serpentine belt? He actually had an extra one, thank God, left over from a job last week that he'd never returned because the customer had stiffed him on payment. The rain made everything harder. His fingers kept slipping. Water got in his eyes. His knees were soaked through from kneeling in the mud. But he'd worked in worse conditions. Had worked in snow. Had worked in 100-degree heat. Had once replaced a transmission in a parking lot during his lunch break because a single mother needed her car running to get to work and couldn't afford to miss a shift. That's who Ryan was, who Emma had loved, who his father had raised him to be. The woman hovered nearby, hugging herself against the cold. "I'm Amy, by the way," she said, having to raise her voice over the rain. "Amy Johnson." Ryan glanced up. Even soaked and stressed, she carried herself with this quality he couldn't quite name. Authority, maybe, or just the confidence of someone who'd never had to wonder if they could afford dinner. Never had to choose between paying the electric bill or buying groceries. Never had to tell their daughter that, "No, sorry, we can't afford the field trip this month." "Ryan Carter," he said, returning his attention to the engine. "Nice to meet you, Amy." "You're very kind to stop. Most people would have just driven past." Ryan thought about his interview, about Sophie, about the 3 months of rent he owed, about Mrs. Chen next door who watched Sophie for free because she knew Ryan couldn't afford a babysitter, about the stack of bills on his kitchen table that grew taller every week, about everything he was throwing away right this second. "Yeah, well," he said quietly, "can't just leave people stranded." 8:26 a.m. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it over the rain, but his hands stayed steady. This was what he was good at. This was what he knew. Engines didn't lie. Engines didn't reject you or lay you off or tell you they were downsizing. Engines either worked or they didn't, and if they didn't, you could fix them. If only people were that simple. "You do this for a living?" Amy asked, watching him work. "Mechanic, 17 years. He didn't mention that he'd been unemployed for 6 of the last 8 months. Didn't mention the string of shops that had closed or let him go or couldn't afford to keep him. Didn't mention lying awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, calculating how many days until they were on the street. Didn't mention the fear that lived in his chest like a stone. 17 years? She repeated something thoughtful in her voice about, "That's impressive. Where do you work now?" Ryan's jaw tightened. His hands kept moving, but something in his chest clenched. "Between jobs at the moment. Actually have an interview this morning." He checked his watch. 8:27. "Had an interview." He felt her go very still beside him. "Oh," she said quietly. There was something in her tone, something Ryan couldn't quite read. "I see." "Don't worry about it," Ryan said more to himself than to her. "Wouldn't have been right for me anyway. Never am." That came out more bitter than he'd intended. He swallowed it back, focused on the belt. "Almost done. Just another minute." "Where was the interview?" Amy asked. Ryan almost laughed. Of course she'd ask. "Brooks Automotive." Silence. Just the rain and the occasional car whooshing past. Then the same place I'm going. "Small world," Ryan said. He didn't look at her. Couldn't. Because if he did, he might say something he'd regret. Might ask why the universe thought this was funny. Might ask what he'd done to deserve a life where every time he tried to climb up something knocked him back down. But Emma's voice, "We help people, Ryan. Even when it costs us, especially then. That's what makes us human." Ryan tightened the last bolt, straightened up, wiped his hands on his already soaked jeans. "Okay, try it now." Amy slid into the driver's seat. Her hands were shaking a little, Ryan noticed. She turned the key. The engine coughed once, sputtered. Ryan held his breath. Then it caught. Not perfect, not smooth. But it would run. It would get her there. She stepped back out into the rain, and for a long moment she just looked at him. Really looked at him. Like she was seeing something she hadn't expected to find on a rainy highway in the middle of Indiana. Then she reached into her purse, pulled out her wallet. "Please, let me pay you. How much do I owe you for this?" "Nothing." "No, really, I insist. You've probably missed your interview, and that's my fault, and I said nothing." Ryan's voice came out sharper than he meant it to. He softened it. "Just get to your meeting, Amy. Drive safe. And get that properly fixed when you can. What I did was temporary, it'll hold for today, but you need a real mechanic to look at it." She hesitated, then extended her hand. Her grip was firm, businesslike, confident. "Thank you, Ryan Carter. Truly, I won't forget this." Ryan nodded, already backing toward his truck. 8:31 a.m. Interview had started 1 minute ago. It was over. Done. Finished. But at least he'd helped someone. At least Emma would have been proud. At least Sophie wouldn't know her father had failed again. He climbed back into his truck and sat there for a moment watching the BMW pull away its taillights, disappearing into the rain. Then he just sat there, dripping water all over his seats, staring at the clock as it ticked to 8:32, 8:33, and let the reality of what he'd just done sink in. He'd sacrificed his daughter's future for a woman named Amy Johnson, who drove a BMW and wore a Rolex and probably wouldn't remember his name by lunchtime. Ryan picked up his phone. Might as well make it official. He dialed Brooks Automotive. "Brooks Automotive, this is Jennifer speaking." "Hi, this is Ryan Carter. I had an interview scheduled for 8:30 this morning with Mr. Patterson. I'm so sorry, but I've been delayed by an emergency situation. Is there any possible way I could reschedule or—" "Mr. Carter?" The receptionist's voice was professional. Cool, final. "Mr. Patterson has a very tight schedule today. I'm afraid if you're not here within the next 5 minutes, we'll have to move forward with other candidates." "I understand. I'm about 15 minutes out. If there's any possibility at all." "I'll make a note that you called. Have a good day, Mr. Carter." "Mr. Carter, isn't it?" Click. Ryan stared at his phone. Then he very carefully set it down in the cup holder. He didn't throw it. Didn't scream. Didn't punch the dashboard. He just sat there in the rain in his wet clothes in his falling apart truck and watched the clock tick over to 8:34 a.m. Then he started the engine and drove home. The drive took 25 minutes. Ryan didn't speed. Didn't see the point anymore. He pulled into the driveway of their small rental house, the one they'd be evicted from in 2 weeks, and sat in the truck for a long moment before forcing himself to go inside. Sophie was at the window, her face pressed against the glass, breath fogging it up. When she saw him, her whole face lit up like Christmas morning, and she ran to the door, throwing it open before he could even reach for his keys. "Dad, how'd it go?" "Did you get it? Are you going to work there? When do you start?" Ryan looked at his daughter, 8 years old, wearing her mother's old gray cardigan that was 3 sizes too big, sleeves rolled up 6 times, her brown hair and the messy braids she'd tried to do herself this morning, because Ryan still couldn't get them right no matter how many YouTube videos he watched. Hope shining in her eyes like pure sunlight cutting through storm clouds. He knelt down on the wet porch and pulled her into a hug. Held her tight. Smelled her strawberry shampoo. Felt her small arms wrap around his neck. "Interview got postponed, sweetheart," he said into her hair. "But it's okay, we're okay." Oh. The disappointment in that one syllable crushed him. "When's the new one?" "Don't know yet, soon probably." "Okay." She pulled back, trying to smile for him, trying to be brave, just like Emma used to. "That's okay, Dad. You'll get it next time. I know you will." Mrs. Chen appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She was 72, Korean, had lived next door for 15 years, and had watched Sophie since Emma died. Never asked for payment. Always brought over extra food. Always pretended she'd made too much. Could Ryan please take some so it wouldn't go to waste? "Everything all right?" she asked quietly. Ryan just shook his head. Mrs. Chen's expression said she understood everything he couldn't say out loud. She squeezed his shoulder, once gentle and knowing, then let herself out. The rest of the day crawled by like a wounded animal. Ryan made Sophie lunch grilled cheese with the last of the good bread. Helped her with math homework. Played 3 games of Go Fish at the kitchen table, letting her win twice because he couldn't stand to see her lose anything else today. Read her 2 chapters of the book they were working through together. All while his mind replayed the morning over and over. Amy's face when he'd mentioned Brooks Automotive. The way she'd gone so still. The way she'd looked at him before she drove away. That night after Sophie was finally asleep after 3 glasses of water. 2 bathroom trips and 1 more hug, Ryan sat at the kitchen table with his stack of bills and his calculator. The math wasn't pretty. It hadn't been pretty in months, but now it was approaching catastrophic. Rent 3 months overdue. $3,000, $200. Electric bill 2 months, $287. Water bill $142. Sophie's school lunch account overdrawn by $78. Credit cards maxed. Bank account $43 lots 12. He had maybe 2 weeks before everything fell apart completely. Before Sophie came home from school to find their stuff on the lawn and nowhere to go. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Ryan almost didn't answer. Probably another collection agency. But something made him pick up. "Hello. Mr. Carter. This is Jennifer Marks from Brooks Automotive Human Resources. I'm calling about your interview this morning." Ryan's heart stopped. Here it came. The official rejection. "Thank you for your interest. We've decided to move forward with other candidates. Best of luck in your future endeavors." "Yes," he said carefully. "We'd like to reschedule your interview. Would tomorrow at 10 a.m. work for you?" Ryan blinked again. "I'm sorry, what? Tomorrow at 10. We had a cancellation in the schedule, and Mr. Patterson specifically requested that we reach out to you." "He did?" "Yes, sir. Can you make it?" Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much." "We'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Carter at 10 a.m. sharp." She hung up. Ryan sat there staring at his phone like it might explain what had just happened. They never rescheduled. He'd been around long enough to know that. You missed your interview, you were done. End of story. And Patterson specifically requested him? The man didn't even know him. They'd never met. Had never even spoken. Something felt off about this, wrong somehow. But Ryan wasn't in a position to question good fortune no matter how strange it arrived. He went to bed that night with something he hadn't felt in months: hope. Dangerous thing, hope. It made you believe. Made you think maybe things could get better. Made the fall hurt more when it came. But Ryan let himself feel it anyway. The next morning he woke at 6, showered, shaved carefully. Put on his one good shirt, the one Emma had bought him for their anniversary 4 years ago. His one pair of dress pants that still fit. His work boots polished until they almost looked professional. Sophie sat at the table eating cereal, watching him with big eyes. "You look fancy, Dad. Got that interview today, remember? The one that got postponed? That's the one. You're gonna get it." She said it with such absolute certainty, such pure faith. "I know you are, Tom." Ryan kissed the top of her head. "Love you, kiddo. Love you more." He dropped her at school and drove to Brooks Automotive with 45 minutes to spare. The facility was massive up close. All gleaming steel and glass, modern architecture, solar panels on the roof. The parking lot was full of luxury cars, BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, Teslas. And right there in the executive row near the front entrance, one black BMW with a barely visible temporary fix on the serpentine belt. Ryan's stomach dropped straight through the floor of his truck. No, it couldn't be. Amy Johnson was just someone he'd helped. Just a woman who happened to be going to the same place. That was all. Just a coincidence, had to be. But that belt, that fix, that was his work, his hands, his temporary repair. Ryan sat in his truck for a full minute staring at that BMW, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. Then he forced himself to get out, to walk inside, to give his name to the receptionist, the same woman who'd coldly dismissed him yesterday and was directed to wait in a conference room on the 3rd floor. The room was everything Ryan wasn't. Expensive, polished, professional. All leather chairs and dark mahogany wood and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the factory floor below. The kind of place where million-dollar decisions got made over coffee that probably cost more per cup than Ryan spent on groceries in a week. Photos lined the walls, company history, factory expansions, ribbon cuttings with politicians, people in suits shaking hands and smiling for cameras. And there, in one frame near the door, was a larger portrait. Official company photo. Board of directors. Ryan's eyes found her immediately. 3rd from the left, navy suit, gray eyes, that same confident posture. But the nameplate didn't say Amy Johnson. It said Amanda Brooks, CEO, founder's daughter. Ryan felt like he'd been punched in the chest. The woman he'd helped. The woman whose car he'd fixed in the rain while missing his interview. That wasn't some random stranger heading to a meeting. That was Amanda Brooks, the CEO of the entire company, the person who the door opened behind him. Ryan turned. She walked in, and this time she wasn't soaked or frazzled or stranded on a highway. This time she wore a perfectly pressed navy suit that probably cost more than Ryan's rent. Her hair was dried and styled. Her glasses were clean. Those gray eyes were sharp and focused and completely in control. Behind her came 2 other people. A man Ryan recognized from the website as Marcus Patterson, Director of Operations 50's solid build, the look of someone who'd worked his way up from the factory floor. And a younger woman carrying a tablet, professional and alert. Amanda Brooks stopped in the doorway, looked directly at Ryan, and smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It wasn't friendly. It was the smile of someone who knew something you didn't. Someone holding all the cards. "Mr. Carter," she said. Her voice was different now, confident, authoritative. The voice of someone used to being obeyed. "Thank you for coming. Shall we begin?" Ryan's mind was racing. She'd lied. She'd lied about her name. She'd been testing him, watching him, studying him. This whole thing was some kind of setup or game or Ms. Brooks. His voice came out steadier than he felt. Barely. "Yesterday, on the highway, you told me your name was Amy Johnson." "I did." "Why?" She moved into the room, gestured for him to sit. Ryan stayed standing. "Why did you lie?" he pressed. Amanda sat at the head of the table. Patterson and the woman with the tablet, her assistant Ryan Guest, took seats flanking her. The CEO folded her hands on the polished wood surface and looked at Ryan with those calculating gray eyes. "Because I wanted to see who you were when you thought I was nobody important," she said simply. "And I got my answer." Ryan felt heat rise in his face. Anger mixed with embarrassment, mixed with something sharper he couldn't quite name. "So this was a test?" "No," Amanda's voice was firm. "Yesterday was real. My car genuinely broke down. I was genuinely late for a meeting. But when you told me you were interviewing here, I became curious. Very curious. Because the man who stopped to help me, who sacrificed his own opportunity to help a stranger, that's not someone I meet very often in my world." "Your world," Ryan repeated. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. Patterson cleared his throat. "Mr. Carter, why don't you sit down? Let's start over." But Ryan didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on Amanda. "You could have told me the truth. Yesterday, you could have said who you were." "I could have." She didn't look away, didn't blink. "But then I wouldn't have seen who you really are. I would have seen who you thought you needed to be for the CEO, and that's not useful to me." "Useful?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "Is that what I am useful?" Something flickered across Amanda's face. Just for a second, then it was gone. Please, sit down, Mr. Carter. Let's talk. Ryan wanted to walk out, wanted to tell her exactly what he thought of her test and her games and her world where people lied about their names just to see what would happen. But then he thought about Sophie, about the rent, about the bills on his kitchen table, about Mrs. Chen's worried face. He sat down. Amanda nodded once. I'll be direct, Mr. Carter. I've reviewed your application. Your experience is impressive. 17 years working on everything from domestic vehicles to industrial equipment. Your references are glowing. Every single person I called said the same thing. You're the best mechanic they ever worked with. Honest, skilled, dedicated. But they all let me go anyway, Ryan said quietly. Because their businesses failed, not because you failed. Amanda leaned forward slightly. But what impressed me most wasn't your resume. It was what happened yesterday. You had every reason to drive past me. You were late. Your future was on the line. Most people would have chosen themselves. You didn't. Why? Ryan looked down at his hands. Mechanic's hands, scarred and calloused and permanently stained with grease that never quite washed out. Because it was the right thing to do. Even though it cost you everything. Doing the right thing doesn't stop being right just because it's expensive. The room went quiet. Ryan could hear the hum of the air conditioning, the distant sound of machinery from the factory floor below, his own heartbeat. When he looked up, Amanda was studying him with an expression he couldn't read. My father built this company from nothing, she said suddenly. Started in a garage in 1962, just him and 2 employees. He used to tell me that the soul of a company isn't in its quarterly reports or its stock price, it's in its people. In whether they do right when no one's watching, in whether they help someone even when it costs them. She paused. He died 2 years ago, and sometimes I wonder if we lost that soul when we lost him. Patterson shifted in his seat. The assistant her name tag said Jessica kept her eyes on her tablet. I'm not looking for someone who just knows engines, Mr. Carter, Amanda continued. I can hire technical skill anywhere. I'm looking for someone who represents what this company used to be. What it should be again. Ryan didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know if he believed her. Rich people talked a lot about values and principles, but in his experience, they always chose profit when it came down to it. Patterson jumped in, his voice gruff but not unkind. Let's talk specifics. Tell me about your experience with electrical systems. We're moving heavily into electric vehicles. That's going to be our future. Ryan took a breath, steadied himself. This he could do. This he knew. I've worked on hybrids since 2010, full electric since 20s. Done everything from basic battery maintenance to complete motor replacements. Taught myself most of it because the shops I worked at couldn't afford to send me to certification courses. Taught yourself? Jessica looked up from her tablet. YouTube? Trade forums? Got my hands on a couple junked Teslas from a salvage yard and took them apart piece by piece to see how they worked. Took me 3 months, but I figured it out. Patterson's eyebrows went up. You bought junked Teslas just to learn. Couldn't afford not to. Electric is the future. If I didn't learn it, I'd be obsolete. Ryan leaned forward. Look, I know I don't have fancy certifications or a degree, but I can fix anything with a motor. Give me an engine and some tools and I'll make it run. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. What's the most complex repair you've done? Patterson asked. Ryan thought for a moment. Last year, I rebuilt a 1907 Ford Mustang engine for a customer. Complete teardown. Every gasket, every seal, every bearing. Transmission was shot too, so I rebuilt that. Did the whole thing in my driveway over 6 weeks. Customer couldn't afford shop rates. Did he pay you? Ryan's face tightened. Eventually, most of it. Most of it. He was a veteran, Vietnam. His dad had owned that car. It meant something to him. I wasn't going to take the car back for the last $200. Patterson and Amanda exchanged a look. Ryan couldn't tell what it meant. Tell me about your last job, Amanda said. Worked at Preston Auto in Gary, small shop. Owner was getting ready to retire. Kept putting off maintenance on the building the equipment. Everything was falling apart. Then his wife got sick, cancer, medical bills wiped him out. He had to close. That was 8 months ago. And since then, odd jobs mostly, Craigslist repairs, help people in my neighborhood when their cars break down, do what I can to keep money coming in. Ryan met her eyes. I've got a daughter, 8 years old. She needs to eat more than I need my pride. Her mother, Amanda asked gently, died 3 years ago. Aneurysm. She was fine one morning and gone by afternoon. Ryan's voice went flat. Just me and Sophie now. The room got quiet again. Jessica looked uncomfortable. Patterson studied his hands. Amanda's face softened just slightly. I'm sorry. Ryan shrugged. Not your fault. No, but I'm still sorry. She glanced at Patterson, some silent communication passing between them. Mr. Carter, I want to offer you a position here. Senior mechanic in our prototype division. You'd be working on our new electric vehicle line, developing new systems, solving problems no one's solved before. Starting salary is $78,000 annually with full benefits. Health, dental, vision, 4 weeks paid vacation, and we have on-site childcare if you need it. Ryan's brain stuttered to a halt. $78,000. He'd never made more than $45,000 in his life. What? Is that acceptable? Amanda asked. Acceptable, that's... Ryan stopped, shook his head. Why me? You could hire someone with better credentials, someone with a degree. Because credentials don't fix cars when they're broken at 2 a.m. and we have a shipment deadline, Patterson said bluntly. Because degrees don't tell me if someone's going to actually show up and do the work. And because in 17 years you've never once been written up for shoddy work or cutting corners. That's in every reference we called. Every single one. But mostly because you stopped to help a stranger in the rain, Amanda added quietly. That tells me more about who you are than any resume ever could. Ryan felt something crack in his chest. Something that had been holding tight for months, maybe years. I accept. Yes, thank you. Amanda smiled, a real smile this time. Welcome to Brooks Automotive, Mr. Carter. Can you start Monday? I can start today. She laughed. Monday's fine. Come in at 8. Jessica will email you all the paperwork. They stood, shook hands. Patterson's grip was firm and calloused working man's hands just like Ryan's. Jessica smiled warmly, and Amanda held his hand for just a moment longer than necessary. Thank you for stopping yesterday, she said. I mean that. Ryan nodded. Thank you for giving me a chance. He walked out of that building in a daze, sat in his truck for 5 full minutes just breathing. Then he called Sophie's school. Hi, this is Ryan Carter, Sophie Carter's dad. Could you let her know I'll be picking her up early today? About noon, we're going to celebrate. He took her to the diner she loved, the one with the good milkshakes and the burgers that came with fries and a pickle. They sat in a red vinyl booth and Ryan told her everything. Well, almost everything. He left out the part about Amanda lying, left out the part about being tested. Just told her he got the job and things were going to be okay now. Sophie's face lit up like the sun. I knew it. I knew you'd get it. You did, huh? I told you this morning. You did tell me. Ryan reached across and squeezed her hand. Starting Monday. Good pay, good benefits. We're going to be okay, kiddo. Can we afford the field trip now, the one to the Science Museum? Ryan's throat got tight. Yeah, we can afford the field trip. Sophie threw her arms around him right there in the booth, and Ryan hugged her back, not caring who saw, not caring about anything except this moment and this little girl who was his whole world. That weekend was the best Ryan had had in 3 years. He paid the landlord, paid the electric bill, went to the grocery store and bought actual food, not just whatever was on sale. Got Sophie new shoes because her old ones had holes in the soles. Slept through the night for the first time in months. Monday morning came and Ryan was at Brooks Automotive at 7:30. Patterson met him at the door. You're early. Habit, Patterson grunted approval. Come on, I'll show you your station. The facility was even more impressive from the inside. Clean, organized, state-of-the-art equipment that Ryan had only seen in magazines. Lifts that actually worked. Tools that weren't held together with rust and prayer. A team of mechanics who looked up and nodded when Patterson introduced him. This is Ryan Carter. He's joining prototype development. Ryan, this is Carlos May Jackson and Derek. You got questions? Ask them. They know this place better than I do. Carlos, a stocky man about Ryan's age with grease under his nails, reached out to shake. Welcome to the madhouse, man. Thanks. You really fixed that CEO's car on the side of the highway, May asked. She was mid-20s, sharp eyes, confident stance. Word traveled fast. Yeah. Ballsy, Jackson said. He was younger, maybe early 20s, looked fresh out of tech school. Most people would have just called a tow. Didn't really think about it, just saw someone who needed help. Well, you're a legend around here now, Derek added. He was older, maybe late 50s, with the look of someone who'd been doing this his whole life. Half the building thinks you're crazy. Other half thinks you're a saint. I'm just a mechanic, Ryan said. Best kind, Derek replied and went back to work. Patterson showed Ryan to his station. You'll be working on the new electric sedan prototype. We're having issues with the regenerative braking system. 3 engineers have looked at it. Nobody can figure it out. Think you can handle it? Ryan looked at the vehicle. Sleek, modern, expensive. I can try. Good enough. Get to work. Ryan did. Dove in. Lost himself in the familiar rhythm of diagnosis and repair. By lunch, he'd found the problem, a faulty sensor giving bad readings to the control module. By 3, he'd fixed it. By 5, he was working on the next project. The week flew by. Ryan showed up early, stayed late, worked through lunch. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. Because this was what he loved. Taking broken things and making them whole. Wednesday afternoon, he was deep in a motor assembly when he heard shouting from across the facility. He looked up. Patterson was actually running toward the main production floor. Half a dozen engineers followed. People were yelling. Someone was on a phone looking panicked. Carlos came over, wiping his hands. Line 3, total shutdown. What happened? Don't know, but it's bad. They got a major client shipment due tonight. If that line doesn't run, company loses millions. Ryan set down his tools. Let's go see. They walked over to the production floor. Chaos. Engineers everywhere, staring at computer screens, checking connections, shouting theories back and forth. The assembly line was completely frozen. Robotic arms stuck mid-motion. Conveyor belts silent. Half-finished vehicles trapped in the system. And standing in the middle of it all, arms crossed, face unreadable, was Amanda Brooks. She saw Ryan. Something flickered in her eyes. How long, she was asking an engineer. Her voice was calm, but Ryan could hear the edge underneath. Could be hours, Ms. Brooks, maybe longer. The diagnostic system isn't showing us where the failure point is. We're checking everything manually, but this system has thousands of connection points. We don't have hours. We have 6 hours before that client shipment has to leave this building. 6 hours before we breach our contract and lose $17 million. The engineer looked like he might be sick. We're doing everything we can. I know you are. Amanda's voice softened slightly. Keep at it. Ryan moved closer, studied the line. He'd never seen a system this big before, this complex. But the principles were the same. Everything had a starting point. Everything had a logic. Ms. Brooks. Everyone turned to look at him. Patterson frowned. Carter, this isn't your area. I know, but I think I might be able to help. You think... The engineer who'd been talking to Amanda stepped forward. His name tag said Williams. With all due respect, this system was designed by specialists. We've got electrical engineers, software engineers, mechanical engineers, all working on this. What makes you think? Marcus. Amanda's voice cut through the tension. Let him try. Patterson looked like he wanted to argue, but he just nodded. You got 30 minutes, Carter. After that, we're calling in outside contractors. I'll need less than that. Ryan hoped that was true. Can someone pull up the system architecture? Williams pulled it up on a tablet. Ryan studied it, traced the connections with his finger. Power distribution control systems, mechanical linkages, safety interlocks. It was complex, but it followed rules. Everything followed rules. When did it fail? Ryan asked. About 40 minutes ago, Williams said. No warning, just total shutdown. Did anything change recently? New software update, maintenance work, anything? Williams scrolled through logs on his tablet. Routine maintenance this morning. They replaced a sensor in Section B. Which sensor? A temperature sensor, Unit T47. Ryan looked at the schematic again, traced the connection. That sensor feeds into the main control module, right? Right. And the main control module has a safety protocol. If it gets readings outside normal parameters, it shuts down the whole line to prevent damage. Yes, but we checked that sensor. It's reading fine now. But what if the problem isn't the sensor? Ryan was thinking out loud. What if the problem is the wiring to that sensor? Old wire, new sensor. What if the connection is loose intermittent? The diagnostic wouldn't catch that because when you're checking it, the connection is solid. But when the line is running with all that vibration, the connection drops out. Temperature reading goes to 0. Control module thinks there's a catastrophic failure and shuts everything down. Williams stared at him. That's actually possible. Where's Section B? This way. They ran. Ryan, Williams, Patterson, Carlos. Amanda followed behind. They reached Section B, a maze of machinery and wiring. Ryan dropped to his knees, traced the wire to sensor T47. Someone hand me a multimeter. Carlos gave him one. Ryan tested the connection. Solid, just like Williams had said. Try wiggling the wire, Ryan said. Williams bent down, moved the wire slightly. The reading on the multimeter jumped. Dropped to 0, came back. There, Ryan pointed. See that the terminal connection is loose, just barely. Not enough to fail when you test it, but when the line's running with all that vibration, it loses contact for just a second, long enough to trigger the safety shutdown. Williams looked stunned. How did you... I've seen it before, different system, same problem. Ryan was already working. I need a crimping tool and a new terminal. Someone ran to get them. Ryan worked fast, stripped the wire back, crimped on a new terminal, secured it tight, tested it. Solid. Wiggled it hard. Still solid. Try the system, he said. Patterson ran back to the control station, hit the restart sequence. Everyone held their breath. The line hummed, started moving. Robotic arms came to life. Conveyor belts rolled. The whole beautiful complex system woke up and went back to work. Cheering erupted from the engineers. Williams clapped Ryan on the shoulder. Carlos whooped. Patterson was grinning, and Amanda was smiling, really smiling, looking at Ryan like she'd just confirmed something she'd suspected all along. 23 minutes, she said. You fixed in 23 minutes what my entire engineering team couldn't fix in an hour. Ryan stood up, brushing off his knees. Just a loose connection. Easy fix once you know where to look. Easy, Amanda repeated. She shook her head. Mr. Carter, nothing about what you just did was easy. You saw a pattern no one else saw. Made a connection no one else made. That's not easy. That's brilliant. Ryan felt his face heat up. You just saved this company $17 million, Patterson said. You've been here 5 days and you already earned your salary for the year. The other engineers were gathering around now, congratulating him, asking how he figured it out. Ryan tried to explain, but he couldn't really. It was just instinct. Years of experience. Pattern recognition. The same way you learn to diagnose an engine knock just by listening to it. Amanda pulled Patterson aside. They talked quietly for a minute. Ryan couldn't hear what they were saying, but he saw Patterson nod. Saw Amanda look at him with that calculating expression again. When she walked over, the crowd parted. Mr. Carter, can I speak with you privately? Ryan followed her to a small office off the production floor. She closed the door, gestured to a chair. He sat. You have a gift, she said without preamble. I've seen a lot of mechanics, a lot of engineers, a lot of people who work with machines, but what you just did out there, that was special. I just fixed a loose wire. No, you didn't just fix a wire. You understood the system, saw how the pieces connected, figured out the logic behind the failure. She sat on the edge of the desk. Do you know why my father started this company? Ryan shook his head. Because he believed machines should serve people, not the other way around. He believed that the best technology was technology that worked, that did what it was supposed to do, that didn't break down or fail or leave people stranded. She paused. He would have loved what you did today. I wish I could have met him. So do I. Amanda's voice went soft. He died before his time. Heart attack, right here in this building. He was working on a new prototype, trying to solve a problem. He collapsed at his workstation, gone before the ambulance arrived. I'm sorry. I took over the company after. Tried to run it the way he would have wanted, but somewhere along the way I think I lost sight of what he valued most. She looked at Ryan. He would have stopped to help a stranger on the highway, would have sacrificed his own appointment to do it. Just like you did. Just trying to do right. I know, that's why I lied to you about my name. I needed to know if that was real. If you were real. She smiled sadly. Do you know how many people in my world do things because they're right instead of because they're profitable? Almost none. Everyone's calculating the angle, looking for the advantage, wondering what's in it for them. Not everyone. No, not everyone. Not you. Amanda stood. I want to promote you. Ryan blinked. What, I've been here less than a week. And you've already proven you're more valuable than people who've been here for years. I want you to head up our rapid response team. When something breaks, you're the one who fixes it. Any system, any line, anywhere in this facility. Name your price. Ryan's head was spinning. I can't. Yes, you can, and you should. You deserve it. Amanda held out her hand. What do you say? Ryan looked at that hand. Thought about Sophie, about the bills on his kitchen table, about everything that had changed in less than a week. He shook her hand. Okay. Yes, thank you. Don't thank me. You earned it. Ryan walked out of that office with his head spinning and his hands shaking slightly. A promotion, after 5 days. He'd never been promoted in his life, had spent 17 years being the guy who showed up, did the work, and got a cost of living raise if he was lucky. Carlos caught him at his workstation. Dude, what happened in there? She promoted me. To what? I don't even know exactly. Something about rapid response, fixing things when they break. Carlos whistled low. Man, you really are a legend now. Half the guys here have been working their asses off for years trying to get noticed. You walk in and save the day in your first week. Ryan heard something in his voice. Not quite resentment, but close. I didn't mean to... Nah, don't apologize. You earned it. We all saw what you did out there. Carlos clapped him on the shoulder. Just don't forget us little people when you're running the place, yeah? He said it like a joke, but Ryan caught the edge underneath. The thing nobody wanted to say out loud. That Ryan had jumped the line. That it wasn't entirely fair. That relationships mattered more than work sometimes. Ryan went home that night and couldn't stop thinking about it. Sophie was at the table doing homework when he walked in. She looked up, beaming. Hi, Dad. How was work? Good. Really good, actually. He set down his lunchbox. Got promoted today. Already, you just started. I know, it's weird. It's not weird. It's because you're good at what you do. She said it with such simple certainty, like it was obvious, like the world made sense. Ryan wished he had her confidence. That night, after Sophie was asleep, he sat at the kitchen table with a beer he'd bought to celebrate but couldn't bring himself to drink. His phone sat in front of him. He'd gotten 3 texts from numbers he didn't recognize. Other mechanics from the floor, all saying basically the same thing. Congratulations. Good for you. Must be nice to know people in high places. That last line stuck in his throat. Because that's what everyone thought wasn't it. That he'd gotten ahead not because of skill, but because he'd helped the CEO. That he was getting special treatment. That it wasn't really earned. Ryan wanted to text back and explain. Wanted to say it wasn't like that. But how could he explain? How could he make them understand that he'd stopped on that highway not knowing who she was? Not expecting anything in return, just doing what Emma had taught him was right. He couldn't. And maybe it didn't matter anyway. People believed what they wanted to believe. The next few weeks were a blur. Ryan's new role meant he bounced between departments, fixing problems as they arose. A motor controller malfunction in prototype development. A hydraulic leak in assembly. A computer system crash in quality control. He became the guy everyone called when something broke and nobody else could figure it out. He was good at it. Better than good. But he could feel the whispers following him. The looks, the careful distance some people kept. Derek was one of the few who didn't change. One afternoon, about 3 weeks in, Ryan was working on a stubborn fuel injection system when Derek pulled up a stool beside him. Can I give you some advice? Derek asked. Sure. Don't let them get to you. Ryan's hands paused. Who? The ones who think you didn't earn this. The ones who are saying you slept your way to the top or whatever stupid rumor is going around this week. I didn't. I know you didn't. I've been here 23 years. I've seen every kind of worker there is. And I can tell the difference between someone who's genuinely good and someone who's just connected. Derek picked up a wrench, turned it over in his hands. You're genuinely good, Ryan. You see things other people don't see. You work harder than you need to. And you give a damn about getting it right, not just getting it done. That's rare. Ryan felt something loosen in his chest. Thanks. Don't thank me, just keep doing what you're doing. The truth always comes out eventually. Derek stood up. Also, you might want to talk to Amanda about all this. Woman's not stupid. She knows what people are saying. I can't just go talk to the CEO. Why not she talks to you? Derek walked away before Ryan could respond. But he was right. Amanda did talk to Ryan. More than seemed normal, actually. She'd stop by his station a few times a week, ask how things were going, what problems he'd solved, what he was working on. At first, Ryan thought she was just checking on her investment, making sure the guy she'd promoted was worth it. But there was something else in those conversations, something that felt less like a boss checking in and more like a person seeking connection. One Friday afternoon, about a month after Ryan started, Amanda appeared at his workstation carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Got a minute?" she asked. Ryan set down his diagnostic tablet. "Sure." She handed him one of the coffees. "Walk with me." They walked through the facility, past the production lines and the prototype bays, out to a small courtyard Ryan hadn't even known existed. A few benches, some plants, quiet. "I wanted to check in," Amanda said, sitting down. "How are you doing, really?" Ryan sat beside her. "Fine. Work's good. Keeping busy." "That's not what I asked." Ryan sipped his coffee. "It was good. Really good. Probably expensive. People think I got promoted because I helped you, not because I earned it." "I know. Doesn't that bother you?" "Should it?" Amanda looked at him. "I know why I promoted you. You know why you were promoted. What anyone else thinks is their problem, not ours. Easy to say when you're the one who makes the decisions. You think it's easy being the boss everyone resents?" Amanda's voice went sharp. "You think it's easy knowing that half the people here think I only got this job because my last name is Brooks, that I didn't earn it? That I'm just daddy's little girl playing at running a company?" Ryan hadn't thought about it that way. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" "I know you didn't." She sighed. "Look, Ryan, I promoted you because you're brilliant at what you do, because you saved this company millions of dollars, because you represent everything my father believed in. The fact that you also happen to be a genuinely good person who stops to help strangers, that's a bonus, not the reason. Then why do people think it is? Because people are cynical. Because they've seen too many unqualified people get ahead through connections. Because it's easier to believe that success is about who you know than to accept that maybe someone else is just better than them." Amanda turned to face him fully. "My father used to say that integrity costs nothing but is worth everything. You have integrity, Ryan. Don't lose it just because other people don't understand it." Ryan looked down at his coffee. "Your father sounds like he was a good man." "He was. Best man I ever knew." Her voice softened. "He built this company with his hands. Literally. Did every job there was to do. Swept floors, ran the assembly line, kept the books. He never asked anyone to do something he wouldn't do himself." "What happened to him, if you don't mind me asking?" "Heart attack. 2 years ago, right on the factory floor." Amanda's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "He was working on a prototype, trying to solve a cooling problem. I was in a meeting. By the time I got down there, he was gone." "I'm so sorry." "Everyone's sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back." She shook her head. "The worst part is that I think this place killed him. The stress, the pressure, the constant fight to stay competitive. He gave everything to this company and it took everything from him." Ryan didn't know what to say to that, so he just sat there, let the silence speak. After a moment, Amanda continued. "When I took over, the board wanted me to cut costs, lay off workers, move production overseas, maximize profit margins, do all the things companies do when they stop caring about people and start caring only about numbers. But you didn't." "No, because my father didn't build this company to make rich people richer. He built it to give people good jobs, to make products that mattered, to prove that you could do well by doing good." She looked at Ryan. "That's why I hired you. Not just because you're talented, but because you get that. You understand that the work matters, that people matter, that doing right is worth the cost." Ryan felt something shift between them, some invisible wall coming down. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you really lie about your name that day on the highway?" Amanda was quiet for a long moment. "Because I was tired. Tired of being the CEO. Tired of everyone wanting something from me. Tired of every conversation being about business or deals or money. When my car broke down, I just wanted to be a person. Not a name or a title, just someone who needed help. She smiled slightly. And then you showed up. And you helped me without knowing who I was or what I could do for you. And for 10 minutes, I got to just be Amy Johnson. Regular person with car trouble. It was the most real interaction I'd had in months. I get that, Ryan said quietly. Sometimes I miss just being a mechanic. Before all this, when my biggest worry was whether I'd have enough work to pay rent. You miss struggling. No, I miss the simplicity, the clarity. You fix the car or you don't. You do good work or you don't. There weren't all these other things to worry about. Amanda nodded slowly. I understand that more than you know. They sat there for a while, not talking, just being. Two people who'd somehow found each other in the chaos of their lives and recognized something familiar. Something true. Finally, Amanda stood. I should get back. Board meeting in 20 minutes. Thanks for the coffee. Thanks for listening. She started to walk away, then turned back. Ryan, don't let the gossip change who you are. This place needs people like you. I need people like you. She left before he could respond. Ryan went back to work with his head full of thoughts he couldn't quite organize, about integrity and cost and what it meant to do right in a world that didn't always reward it. That weekend, he took Sophie to the park. They fed ducks at the pond and ate ice cream and played on the swings. Normal stuff, simple stuff, the kind of stuff that mattered more than promotions or gossip or anything else. Dad, Sophie said as they were walking back to the truck. Yeah, kiddo. Are you happy? The question caught him off guard. What? At your new job, are you happy? Ryan thought about it. About the work he loved and the whispers he hated. About Amanda and the responsibility and the money that meant Sophie could have new shoes and field trips in a future. About Emma and what she would have thought about all of it. Yeah, he said finally. Yeah, I think I am. Good. Sophie slipped her hand into his. You deserve to be happy. Monday morning came and Ryan walked into work with a different mindset. He was done worrying about what people thought, done trying to prove himself to people who'd already decided not to believe him. He'd do his job, do it well, let his work speak for itself. At lunch, he sat with Carlos and May and Jackson like always. They were arguing about the best way to diagnose an electrical short when Williams from engineering walked over. Carter, got a problem in Bay 4. Motor keeps cutting out. Can you take a look? Ryan stood. Yeah, let me grab my... Actually, I'll come too, Carlos said, standing up. Me too, May added. Williams looked confused. I just need Ryan. Yeah, well, Ryan's training us on his diagnostic methods, Carlos said smoothly. So we're a package deal now. It was a lie, a good one, a kind one. And Ryan felt something warm spread through his chest as he realized what Carlos was doing, standing with him, making it clear that Ryan wasn't alone. Sure, Williams said slowly. Whatever works. They walked to Bay 4 together. The motor was a mess. Intermittent power loss, no clear pattern. Ryan started running diagnostics while Carlos and May watched. What are you looking for? May asked. Anything that doesn't belong, Ryan said. Any reading that's off, any connection that's loose. You're looking for the thing that's wrong in a system designed to be right. He found it 20 minutes later. A control wire that had been pinched during installation. Barely damaged. Just enough to cause problems when the motor heated up and the wire expanded. There, he said, pointing. See how the insulation is compressed. That's your problem. Wires making intermittent contact. That's why it only fails when the system's under load. Carlos whistled. How do you even see that? Practice, lots of practice, and a lot of failures where I missed it the first time. Ryan started making the repair. You want to learn this job? Stop expecting to be right the first time. Expect to be wrong. That's when you actually start seeing things. They worked together for the next hour. Ryan teaching, Carlos and May learning. Jackson joined them halfway through, and by the time they finished, it felt less like Ryan was the outsider being resented, and more like he was just part of the team. Word spread. Over the next few weeks, more mechanics started coming to Ryan with questions. Not because he was the boss's favorite, but because he genuinely knew things and was willing to teach them. Because he treated everyone the same whether they were friendly or not. Because he worked harder than anyone else and never asked for special treatment. The gossip didn't stop, but it got quieter, and eventually it didn't matter as much. 2 months after Ryan started, Amanda called him into her office. Real office this time. Top floor. Glass walls overlooking the entire facility. Sit down, she said. She looked tired, more tired than usual. Ryan sat. Everything okay? We got a major contract offer, huge company, 3-year deal worth over $50 million. It would set us up for the next decade. That's great. It is, except they want to tour the facility, meet the team, see how we operate. And they're specifically interested in our rapid response capabilities. They want to meet the guy who can fix anything. She looked at Ryan. That's you. His stomach dropped. I don't do tours. I don't do presentations. I fix things. I know, but this is important, Ryan. This contract could change everything for us. Could mean job security for everyone here. Could mean we expand instead of just surviving. When Friday, 2 days. What do I have to do? Just be yourself. Show them around. Explain what you do. Answer their questions. She paused. And maybe don't mention that you've only been here 2 months. Ryan wanted to say no, wanted to tell her to find someone else, but he thought about Carlos and May and Jackson and Derek, about all the people whose jobs depended on this place staying in business. Okay, he said. I'll do it. Friday came too fast. Ryan wore his best shirt again, the one Emma had bought him, tried to calm his nerves, told himself it was just showing some people around. No big deal. The clients arrived at 10. 3 people, 2 men in expensive suits, 1 woman in a pantsuit that probably cost more than Ryan's truck, all of them looking around with the critical eyes of people who evaluated companies for a living. Amanda made introductions. This is Ryan Carter, head of our rapid response team. Ryan, this is Mr. Chen Ms. Rodriguez and Mr. Walsh from Apex Industries. Handshakes all around. Ryan's palms were sweating. Mr. Carter, Chen said, we've heard impressive things about your work here. Amanda tells us you can fix almost anything. I do my best, Ryan said. Show us. Ryan took them through the facility, showed them the prototype bay, the production lines, explained the systems, answered technical questions as best he could. The whole time he felt like he was being tested, judged, found lacking. They were standing at line 3 when Walsh asked, "How long have you been in this role?" Ryan's throat went dry. 2 months. Silence. The 3 clients looked at each other, then at Amanda. 2 months, Rodriguez said. And you're heading rapid response for the entire facility. Yes, ma'am. That's highly irregular, Amanda stepped in smoothly. Ryan earned his position through exceptional performance. He's solved problems here that teams of engineers couldn't solve. He saved us millions in his first week alone. Still, Walsh said, 2 months seems... An alarm blared through the facility. Red lights started flashing. People started running toward line 2. Patterson's voice came over the intercom. Emergency shutdown line 2. Repeat emergency shutdown line 2. Carter, we need you. Ryan looked at Amanda. She nodded. He ran. The clients followed behind Ryan and Amanda, keeping pace beside them. By the time they reached line 2, smoke was pouring from one of the welding stations. Workers were backing away. Fire suppression had kicked in, but the system was still sparking and hissing. Patterson met Ryan at the control panel, face grim. Welding robot malfunctioned. Kept firing even after the shutdown command. Burned through the safety cage. We had to hit the emergency cutoff. Anyone hurt? No, thank God. But the line's down and we've got a production deadline in 4 hours. If we don't ship tonight, we breach contract. Ryan looked at the smoking station. The clients were standing back with Amanda watching everything unfold. This was the worst possible timing. The absolute worst. Can you fix it? Patterson asked quietly. Ryan grabbed a fire extinguisher and moved toward the station. Let's find out. The heat hit him first. The welding robot had been firing at full power for who knew how long. Metal was warped, wires were melted, the whole control assembly looked like it had been through a war. Carlos appeared beside him with a toolkit. Tell me what you need. Get the power isolated, completely. I don't want any chance of this thing firing up while I'm working on it. Carlos ran to the breaker panel. May showed up with cooling fans. Jackson brought replacement components. Derek coordinated with the other workers to clear the area and set up a safe perimeter. Ryan worked fast, traced the control circuits, found the problem almost immediately. A relay had failed in the closed position. When the shutdown command came, the relay couldn't open. Power kept flowing, the robot kept welding. I need a replacement relay, Ryan called out. Type K47. We don't have any in stock, someone yelled back. Next delivery isn't until Monday. Ryan's mind raced. Type K47. Industrial grade. High amperage. Not something you could just pick up at a hardware store. But the principle was the same as any relay. Open circuit, closed circuit, electromagnetic switch. What about type K39? Ryan asked. We got any of those? Yeah, several. Bring me two. Carlos ran to get them. The clients were talking among themselves. Ryan couldn't hear what they were saying, but he could guess. This was a disaster. A failure. Everything Amanda had told them about rapid response and solving problems was falling apart in real time. Carlos returned with the relays. Ryan examined them. Different mounting, different amp rating. But the core function was the same. This isn't going to be pretty, Ryan said. But it'll work. He went to work, modified the mounting bracket with a grinder, rewired the connections to handle the different voltage, bypassed the safety interlock that would normally prevent this kind of jury-rigged solution. It was temporary. It was borderline dangerous, but it would get the line running. 30 minutes later, he stepped back. Okay, try it. Patterson initiated the startup sequence. Everyone held their breath. The robot hummed to life, moved through its calibration cycle. The welding arc fired once. Clean, controlled, exactly as it should. The line started moving again. Cheering erupted from the workers. Carlos clapped Ryan on the back. May was grinning. Even Patterson looked relieved. Ryan turned around. The clients were staring at him. Amanda's expression was unreadable. Chen stepped forward. That was remarkable. Just a relay failure, Ryan said, wiping sweat from his face. Happens sometimes. No, I mean your response, your team, the way everyone worked together, the improvisation. Chen looked at his colleagues. We've toured 17 facilities in the last 6 months. Not one of them could have handled that situation the way you just did. Rodriguez nodded. Most places would have called in outside contractors, shut down for days, lost the deadline. You fixed it in half an hour with parts you had on hand. That's what we do here, Amanda said quietly. She was looking at Ryan with something in her eyes, pride maybe, or vindication. Walsh pulled out his phone and made a call, talked quietly for a moment, then hung up and turned to Amanda. We'd like to move forward with the contract. Our legal team will have paperwork ready by end of business Monday. Amanda's professional mask cracked for just a second. Relief and joy flashed across her face before she controlled it. Thank you. We won't let you down. After the clients left after the handshakes and the promises after Amanda had walked them to their car, Ryan sat down on a workbench and let the adrenaline drain out of him. His hands were shaking. His shirt was soaked with sweat. His heart was still racing. Carlos sat down beside him. Man, that was intense. Yeah. You know what you just did, right? You just saved about 200 jobs, including mine. Ryan looked at him. I just fixed a relay. Nah, you did a lot more than that. Carlos stood up. Come on, Patterson's buying pizza for everyone. You're the guest of honor. The break room was packed. Someone had ordered 30 pizzas. Music was playing. People were laughing and talking. When Ryan walked in, everyone cheered. Derek handed him a beer. To the miracle worker. I'm not a miracle worker. Could have fooled me, May said. She raised her own beer. Seriously, Ryan, that was incredible. The way you just saw the solution. The way you made it work with what we had. That's not something you can teach. That's just talent. Ryan felt his face heat up. He'd never been comfortable with praise, never knew what to do with it. We all worked together. It wasn't just me. Don't be modest, Jackson said. It doesn't suit you. Just accept that you're really good at what you do and let us celebrate that. Amanda appeared in the doorway. The room got a little quieter. She walked over to Ryan. Can I talk to you for a minute? They went back to the courtyard, their spot, the quiet place away from everything. You saved us today, Amanda said. You know that, right? The relay saved us. I just replaced it. Stop that. Stop diminishing what you do. She turned to face him fully. Ryan, you are the most talented mechanic I've ever seen. But more than that, you're exactly what my father envisioned when he built this company. Someone who cares about the work, about the people, about doing things right even when it's hard. I'm just trying to keep my job. No, you're not. If you were just trying to keep your job, you would have walked away when that relay failed. Would have said it wasn't your department. Would have let someone else handle it, but you didn't. You ran toward the problem, just like you ran toward my car that day on the highway. Ryan didn't know what to say to that. I need to tell you something, Amanda continued. That contract we just signed? It's going to change everything. We're going to expand, hire more people, maybe even open a second facility, and I want you to be part of leading that growth. I'm not a manager. I'm a mechanic. You're more than that. You're a leader. People follow you because they trust you, because they see you working harder than anyone else, because you treat everyone with respect. She paused. I want to make you director of technical operations, overseeing all maintenance and repair across the company. Ryan felt like the ground was shifting under his feet. That's Patterson's job. Patterson is ready to retire. We've talked about it. He wants to spend time with his grandkids, and he personally recommended you for the position. I've been here 2 months. I know, but you've done more in 2 months than most people do in 2 years. Amanda's voice was firm. You deserve this, Ryan. Please stop acting like you don't. Ryan looked out at the facility, at the building where 200 people worked and depended on this place staying open, at the life he'd built here in such a short time, at the future he could give Sophie. Can I think about it? He asked. Of course, take all the time you need. That night, Ryan picked up Sophie from Mrs. Chen's house. She was excited because they'd made cookies again and she'd saved 3 for him. How was work, Dad? Interesting. Really interesting. They drove home. Ryan made dinner. They ate together at the table like they always did. Then Sophie did homework while Ryan cleaned up the kitchen. Dad, Sophie called from the table. Yeah. My teacher said we have to write about what our parents do for work, for career day. Ryan came over and sat down beside her. Okay. What do you want to write? I don't really know what you do. I mean, I know you fix cars and machines and stuff, but what does that mean? Ryan thought about how to explain it. You know how when something breaks, it stops working the way it's supposed to? Yeah. My job is to figure out why it broke and how to fix it, to make it work again. But lots of people can fix things. That's true. But I fix things that other people can't figure out, things that are really complicated, and I teach other people how to fix things too. Sophie considered this. So you're like a teacher and a fixer. Something like that. That's cool. She started writing. Is it a good job? Yeah, kiddo, it's a really good job. Do you like it? Ryan thought about Amanda's offer, about becoming director of technical operations, about the responsibility and the pressure and the fear of failing, but also about the work he loved and the people he worked with and the difference he could make. Yeah, he said. I really do. Sophie smiled and kept writing. Ryan watched her for a moment. 8 years old, Emma's eyes, his stubbornness, their combined hope for a better world. Sophie, if I had a chance to get a promotion at work, a really big one, do you think I should take it? She looked up. Would it make you happy? I don't know. Maybe. It would definitely be scary. Mom used to say that the best things are usually scary at first. Ryan's throat got tight. She did say that, didn't she? So you should do it. Take the promotion. Be brave. Sophie went back to her homework like she'd just solved the world's problems. Monday morning, Ryan walked into Amanda's office. She was on the phone but waved him in. He waited while she finished her call. So, she asked when she hung up, have you thought about my offer? I have. And? I want to accept, but I have conditions. Amanda raised an eyebrow. Conditions. Patterson stays on as a consultant. Part-time? I don't want him to lose his connection to this place, and I want to keep working with my hands. I'll do the management stuff, but I need to still be on the floor, still fixing things. That's who I am. Done and done. Anything else? Carlos gets promoted to lead the rapid response team. May becomes his second. They've earned it. Agreed. You'll start next month. That gives us time to transition and for you to train your replacements. Ryan stood up, shook her hand. Thank you for all of this, for taking a chance on me. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Amanda smiled. My father would have loved you, Ryan. He really would have. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Ryan trained Carlos and May, worked with Patterson on the transition. Started learning the management side of things, which was way more complicated than he'd expected. Budgets and schedules and personnel issues and vendor contracts. It was exhausting. But it was also exciting. Seeing the bigger picture, understanding how all the pieces fit together, having input on decisions that affected hundreds of people. One afternoon, about 3 weeks into the transition, Ryan was in Patterson's office going over maintenance schedules when Amanda knocked on the door. "Sorry to interrupt. Ryan, can I borrow you for a minute?" They walked out to the courtyard, their spot. But this time, Amanda looked nervous. Actually nervous. Ryan had never seen her like this. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing's wrong. I wanted to ask you something, and it's not work-related, and I'm not sure how to say it without it being weird." Ryan waited. "Sophie's school is having a career day next Friday," Amanda said. "She invited me to come talk about being a CEO." Ryan blinked. She called my office last week, left a message with my assistant, very polite, very formal. Said she was writing about what her dad does, and she wanted to understand more about the company. So I called her back. We talked for about 20 minutes. She's remarkable, Ryan. Smart and curious and kind. Just like her father. Ryan's chest felt tight. I didn't know she did that. She wanted it to be a surprise, but then she asked if I'd come to career day. And I said yes without thinking about whether that was appropriate. So I'm asking now. Is it okay? Would it be weird? You want to come to my daughter's career day? I want to meet her properly. And maybe talk to her class about what we do here, if that's okay with you. Ryan thought about it. About Sophie calling the CEO's office. About Amanda taking the time to call her back. About the strangeness of his boss wanting to attend his daughter's school event. Yeah, he said. Yeah, that's okay. Friday came and Ryan left work early to get to Sophie's school. Amanda met him in the parking lot. She'd dressed down a little, still professional but less intimidating. More human. Nervous? Ryan asked. Terrified. I haven't talked to 8-year-olds since I was 8. Just be yourself. They'll love you. Sophie's classroom was chaos. 23 kids and about 15 parents all crammed into a space meant for 30. Sophie saw Ryan and Amanda walk in and her face lit up like the sun. Dad, Ms. Brooks, you came? Sophie's teacher. Mrs. Patterson, no relation to Marcus, she'd explained once, called the room to order. Okay, class. We have some very special guests today. Let's give them our attention. Ryan went first, talked about what he did, showed pictures of the facility on his phone, explained how machines worked and what happened when they broke. The kids asked questions, good questions, smart questions. Then it was Amanda's turn. She talked about running a company, about making decisions, about responsibility, but she also talked about her father, about how he'd built Brooks Automotive from nothing, about how he'd believed that business should help people not just make money. My dad used to say that the best way to be successful is to help other people be successful, Amanda said. And that's what we try to do at Brooks. We give people good jobs. We make products that matter. We take care of each other. One kid raised his hand. Are you rich? The room went quiet. Mrs. Patterson looked mortified, but Amanda just laughed. I have enough money, yes. But you know what? The richest I ever felt was the day Ryan's dad came to work for us. Because I knew we'd hired someone who would make everyone around him better. Someone who cared about doing things right. That's worth more than any amount of money. Sophie was beaming. Ryan felt his eyes getting wet and had to look away. After the presentations during the cookie and juice portion of the event, Sophie pulled Amanda aside. Ryan watched from across the room as they talked. His daughter so small and young looking up at this powerful woman. And Amanda, one of the most successful business people in the state, kneeling down to Sophie's level. Listening, really listening. Later in the parking lot, Ryan caught up with Amanda. Thank you for coming. That meant a lot to Sophie. Thank you for letting me come. She's an incredible kid, Ryan. She is. Amanda hesitated. Can I ask you something personal? She asked me if I had kids. I said no. And she asked why not. And I didn't really have a good answer. Amanda looked at him. The truth is I've spent so much time building this company living up to my father's legacy that I forgot to build a life. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. You have something special, Ryan. With Sophie. Don't take it for granted. I don't. Trust me. They stood there for a moment in the afternoon sun. Two people from completely different worlds who'd somehow found common ground. I should go, Amanda said. Board meeting in an hour? See you Monday? See you Monday. Ryan watched her drive away in that black BMW. The same car he'd fixed on a rainy highway what felt like a lifetime ago. The same car that had changed everything. He picked up Sophie from her classroom. She was still buzzing with excitement. Dad, that was so cool. Ms. Brooks is so nice. And she said maybe I could tour the factory sometime. Can I, please? We'll see. That means yes in parent language, right? Ryan laughed. Yeah, kiddo, that means yes. That weekend, Ryan took Sophie to the park. Their spot. The same place they'd gone the week he got hired. They fed ducks and ate ice cream and played on the swings. Dad, Sophie said as they were sitting on a bench watching the sunset. Yeah. Are you happy now? Like really happy? Ryan thought about it. About the job and the promotion and the money and the security. About Amanda and the career day and the strange friendship that had developed. About this moment right here with his daughter in a park on a Saturday evening. Yeah, Soph, I really am. Good. You deserve it. You and Mom always help people. Now someone's helping you. That's how it's supposed to work, right? Ryan pulled her close. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. Monday morning, Ryan officially started his new role as Director of Technical Operations. New office, new responsibilities, new challenges. Carlos and May had taken over rapid response and were already doing great work. Patterson stopped by at lunch. How's it feel? Not overwhelming. Good. That means you're taking it seriously. Patterson sat down. Listen, Ryan, I've been doing this job for 23 years, and I've never seen anyone pick it up as fast as you have. You're going to be great at this. I don't feel great at it. Nobody does at first, but you will. Just remember why Amanda hired you. Not because you're the best manager or the best administrator, because you care about the work, about the people. Don't lose that, and you'll be fine. Patterson left and Ryan sat in his new office looking out at the factory floor. At the people working, at the machines running, at the life he'd somehow built from nothing. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Mr. Carter. This is Wilson from Channel 7 News. We're doing a story on Brooks Automotive and their recent contract win. We heard you played a significant role. Would you be willing to do an interview? Ryan's stomach dropped. I don't think... It would just be a few questions about the company, about your work here, local interest piece. Can I call you back? Ryan hung up and immediately called Amanda. There's a news crew wanting to interview me. I know, they called me first. I gave them your name. Is that okay? No, I mean, I don't know. I've never done anything like that. You'll be fine. Just be yourself. Talk about what you do. It's good publicity for the company. I don't want to be on TV. I know, but sometimes we do things that scare us because they're good for the people we care about. Sound familiar? Ryan sighed. She was right. He knew she was right. Fine, I'll do it. The interview happened Wednesday. A reporter and a cameraman showed up at the facility. They filmed the production floor, talked to workers, and then interviewed Ryan in front of line 3 where he'd fixed the relay. So, Mr. Carter, you've only been here a few months, but you've already been promoted twice. What's your secret? Ryan looked directly at the camera, at the people who would watch this, at Sophie who would see her dad on TV. No secret. Just show up every day and do your best. Help people when they need it. Care about your work. The rest takes care of itself. And what would you say to people who are struggling right now, who feel like they can't get ahead? Ryan thought about that morning on the highway, about stopping to help a stranger, about missing his interview and thinking his life was over. I'd say don't give up. And don't stop being a good person just because times are hard. Sometimes the right thing costs you everything. But sometimes if you're lucky, it gives you everything too. The interview aired Friday night. Ryan watched it with Sophie on their couch, her curled up against him with a bowl of popcorn. When his face appeared on screen, Sophie squealed. Dad, you're on TV. You're famous. I'm not famous, kiddo. You are now. Ryan watched himself talk about showing up and doing your best, about helping people, about not giving up. The words sounded better than he remembered saying them. More confident, more certain. His phone started buzzing before the segment even finished. Text messages, emails, calls from numbers he didn't recognize. Mrs. Chen knocked on the door 5 minutes after it ended. Ryan, I just saw you on the news. You were wonderful. Sophie beamed with pride. That's my dad. The next morning, Ryan woke up to find his phone had exploded overnight. 63 text messages, 27 voicemails. His Facebook page, which he barely used, had hundreds of friend requests. His story had been shared thousands of times. Most of the messages were positive. People thanking him for his words, people sharing their own struggles, people saying he'd inspired them. But some were different. Job offers, speaking requests. Someone wanted him to write a book. A podcast wanted to interview him. It was overwhelming. Monday at work was chaos. People kept stopping him to say they'd seen the interview. Carlos printed out a screenshot and hung it in the break room with "Our famous boss" written above it. Even Patterson seemed amused. Didn't know I was hiring a celebrity, he joked. Amanda called Ryan to her office around noon. So, she said, you're kind of a big deal now. I said like 3 sentences on local news. 3 sentences that resonated with about 50,000 people according to our marketing team. The video's been shared on every social media platform. We've gotten inquiries from 6 companies wanting to know more about our workplace culture, and our stock price went up 4%. Ryan sat down heavily. Because of me. Because of the story, because of what you represent. People want to believe that good things happen to good people, that kindness matters, that integrity pays off. Amanda smiled. You gave them that story. I just told the truth. I know, that's what made it powerful. She pulled out a folder. I need to talk to you about something. We're getting requests for you to speak at events, business conferences, leadership seminars. Some are offering pretty significant speaking fees. I'm not a speaker, I'm a mechanic. You're a director of technical operations who happened to save a CEO's life, solve an impossible problem in 30 minutes, and inspire thousands of people with a 3-minute interview. Whether you like it or not, you've become a symbol of something. Ryan rubbed his face. I don't want to be a symbol, I just want to do my job. I know, and you can. But I also think you have an opportunity here to share your story, to inspire people, to show them that one moment of kindness can change everything. Amanda leaned forward. I'm not asking you to become a motivational speaker. I'm just asking you to think about it. Some of these opportunities could be good for you. Good for Sophie. Good for the company. Can I have some time? Take all the time you need. That evening, Ryan sat at the kitchen table with Sophie doing homework while he looked through the speaking requests. Universities, business groups, nonprofits. Some were offering $5,000 for an hour. Others wanted him to keynote major conferences. Dad, what's keynote mean? Sophie asked, reading over his shoulder. It means being the main speaker at an event. Are you going to do it? I don't know. It's scary. You told me to be brave when things are scary. Ryan smiled. I did say that, didn't I? So you should do it. Tell people your story. Maybe it'll help them like it helped us. Out of the mouths of 8-year-olds, Ryan picked one event to start. A local business leadership conference, small audience, 1 hour, $3,000 speaking fee. He could practice there. See if he was any good at this. The conference was 3 weeks away. Ryan spent every spare moment preparing, writing notes, practicing in front of the mirror, recording himself and playing it back. He felt ridiculous, but Sophie would sit and listen to him practice, offering feedback. You're using too many big words, Dad. Talk like you talk to me. You sound nervous. Just pretend you're telling me a story. That part was good. Say more stuff like that. The day of the conference arrived. Ryan wore a suit Amanda had helped him pick out. Sophie had insisted on a blue tie because it matches your eyes. He felt like an imposter. The conference center was huge. Hundreds of people, business owners and executives and entrepreneurs, all of them successful. All of them probably wondering why they were listening to some mechanic from Indiana. Amanda had come to support him. She found him backstage pacing. You're going to be great, she said. I'm going to throw up. That's normal. My father used to throw up before every major presentation. That doesn't make me feel better. Ryan, look at me. She waited until he did. You're not here to impress these people. You're here to tell them your story about stopping on a highway, about helping a stranger, about doing the right thing even when it costs you everything. That story is powerful because it's true. Just tell the truth and you'll be fine. The MC was introducing him. Ryan took a deep breath, thought about Sophie sitting at home with Mrs. Chen watching the live stream. Thought about Emma and what she would say. We help people, Ryan. Always. He walked out on stage. The lights were bright. The audience was a sea of faces. Ryan stepped up to the microphone, and his mind went completely blank. Every word he'd practiced vanished. Then he saw Amanda in the front row. She gave him a small nod. 6 months ago? Ryan started, his voice steadier than he felt. I was 3 months behind on rent. My daughter was eating ramen for dinner because that's all I could afford. And I was driving to a job interview that was my last shot at keeping a roof over our heads. The audience was quiet, listening. Then I saw a woman stranded on the highway, and I had a choice. Keep driving, make my interview, maybe save my life. Or stop and help her, definitely miss my interview, probably lose everything. Ryan paused. I stopped, and I thought I'd made the worst mistake of my life. He told the whole story. The broken BMW, missing the interview, the mysterious reschedule, finding out Amy Johnson was actually Amanda Brooks, the relay failure, the contract that saved the company. I'm not telling you this story because I'm special, Ryan said. I'm telling you because I'm not. I'm just a guy who made a choice, the right choice, the hard choice, and somehow impossibly it worked out. He talked about integrity, about showing up, about treating people with dignity regardless of who they were, about his father's garage and Emma's voice in his head, and Sophie's unshakable faith that everything would be okay. Here's what I've learned, Ryan said. And he was no longer reading from notes or following a script. He was just talking, just being honest. Success isn't about being the smartest or the most talented or having the best connections. It's about being someone people can trust. Someone who does what they say they'll do too. Someone who helps even when it costs them. The audience was leaning forward, engaged. Ryan could feel it. 6 months ago, I was broke and desperate and terrified. Today, I'm standing here because I stopped to help a stranger. That's it. That's the whole secret. Be kind. Work hard. Don't compromise who you are just because times are hard. Ryan looked out at all those faces. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. The right thing costs you everything in the moment, but in the long run, it gives you everything that matters. He finished. The room was silent for a heartbeat. Then applause. Not polite conference applause, real applause. People standing. Ryan stood there overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. Amanda was on her feet, clapping hard, and that somehow made it real. After the speech, people mobbed him. Business cards, handshakes, stories of their own struggles. A woman in her 50s with tears in her eyes told him she'd been ready to give up on her business until she heard him speak. A young guy fresh out of college said Ryan had reminded him why he wanted to be an entrepreneur in the first place. It took 2 hours to get out of there. Nice. In the parking lot, Amanda walked Ryan to his truck. That was incredible, she said. I blacked out halfway through. I don't even remember what I said. You were authentic, vulnerable, real. People don't get enough of that in business. Everyone's always trying to project success and confidence and having it all together. You showed them it's okay to struggle, okay to be scared, okay to not have all the answers. Ryan leaned against his truck. This is weird, right? Me giving speeches, me being on TV. It's unexpected, but not weird. Amanda was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? Sure. When my car broke down that day, I was on my way to a board meeting where they were going to vote on whether to keep me as CEO. Half the board thought I was too soft, too idealistic, too much like my father, and not enough like a modern business leader. She looked at him. I was going to that meeting ready to fight for my vision of what this company should be. But honestly, I was losing faith, starting to think maybe they were right. Maybe kindness and integrity don't matter in business. Maybe it's all just about profit and efficiency and cutting costs. But you stayed, Ryan said, because you reminded me why it matters. Because you proved my father right, that the soul of a company is in its people, that doing right does pay off, that kindness is strength, not weakness. Amanda smiled. So, thank you for stopping that day, for being exactly who you are, for saving more than just my car. Ryan didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. You have more speaking requests, you know, Amanda said. After today, you're going to have even more. What are you going to do? I guess I'll do some of them. If it helps people, if it makes a difference. It will, trust me. Over the next few months, Ryan spoke at 6 more events. A college graduation, A business conference, a nonprofit fundraiser, each time got a little easier. Each time he felt a little more comfortable in his own skin. The speaking fees added up. Ryan paid off every debt, put money in savings for the first time in his life, started a college fund for Sophie, donated to the food bank that had helped them when things were desperate. But he never stopped working at Brooks Automotive. Every morning he was at his desk by 7. Every afternoon he spent time on the factory floor. Carlos and May had rapid response running smoothly, but Ryan still helped with the tough problems. Still got his hands dirty, still remembered where he came from. One evening in late spring, almost 8 months after that rainy highway encounter, Amanda invited Ryan to dinner. Nothing fancy, just a restaurant in town. Her treat. They sat at a quiet table in the back, ordered food, made small talk. Then Amanda got serious. "I need to tell you something," she said, "and I'm not sure how you're going to react." Ryan set down his fork. "Okay. The board wants to expand, open a second facility, maybe a third, turn Brooks Automotive into a national company, and they want me to focus on that growth." She paused. "Which means I need someone to run the Indiana facility day to day. Someone I trust completely. Someone who embodies everything this company stands for." Ryan saw where this was going. "Amanda, I can't." "Vice President of Operations, full executive team. Salary of $200,000 plus bonuses. You'd report directly to me, but you'd have complete authority over the facility." "I've been here 8 months. And in those 8 months, you've transformed this company. Worker morale is at an all-time high. Productivity is up 18%. We haven't missed a single deadline. And all of that is because of the culture you've built, the example you've set. I'm not qualified to be VP of anything. You're the most qualified person I know, not because of education or credentials, because of character, because people trust you, follow you, believe in you." Amanda leaned forward. "Please, I need someone who won't compromise our values just to boost quarterly earnings. Someone who'll remember that this company exists to serve people, not shareholders. That's you, Ryan." Ryan thought about it, about the responsibility, the pressure, the fear of failing, but also about the opportunity to shape the company, to protect the culture, to make sure it stayed true to what Amanda's father had built. "Can I think about it?" "Of course, but Ryan, stop doubting yourself. You've earned everything you have. Stop acting like you haven't." That night, Ryan told Sophie about the offer. She was doing homework at the table, working on a math problem. "That sounds like a big job," she said. "It is." "Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. It's a lot of responsibility. What if I mess up?" Sophie looked at him with those serious eyes, Emma's eyes. "Dad, you stopped on a highway to help someone and it changed our whole life. You fixed a broken relay and saved 200 jobs. You gave speeches that made people feel better about themselves. Why would you mess this up?" "Because I've never done anything like this before." "So you'd never fixed a CEO's car before either?" "You figured it out." She went back to her math. "Just say yes, Dad. Stop being scared." Ryan laughed. When had his 8-year-old daughter become so wise Monday morning, he walked into Amanda's office. "I'll take the job," he said, "on one condition." "Name it." "Patterson stays on the board of directors, permanently. I want him to have a voice in major decisions. He's earned that." "Already done. The board approved it last week." Amanda stood and shook his hand. "Welcome to the executive team, Mr. Vice President." The announcement went out that afternoon. Ryan Carter, who 8 months ago had been unemployed and desperate, was now Vice President of Operations at Brooks Automotive. The response was mixed. Most people were happy, excited, proud to work for a company that promoted from within, that valued character over credentials. But some were bitter, resentful, convinced Ryan had slept his way to the top or that he was getting special treatment because he'd helped the CEO. Ryan tried not to let it bother him, tried to focus on the work, on being the best VP he could be, on proving he deserved the position. 2 weeks into the new role, a senior engineer named Morrison confronted him in the hallway. "Must be nice," Morrison said. His voice was loud enough that people nearby turned to look. "Excuse me, getting promoted because you fixed the boss's car. Some of us have been working here for 15 years and never got a shot at executive level. But you helped the CEO once and suddenly you're VP. Must be real nice." Ryan kept his voice calm. I got promoted because I do good work, same as anyone else. No, you got promoted because you knew the right person, because you were in the right place at the right time. Don't pretend it was merit. People were watching now. This was a test. Ryan could feel it. How he handled this would set the tone for his entire tenure as VP. You're right, Ryan said. Morrison blinked, surprised. I was in the right place at the right time. I stopped on a highway and helped someone who turned out to be the CEO. That was luck. But you know what wasn't luck? Fixing that relay in 30 minutes when your entire engineering team couldn't figure it out. Solving the voltage drop problem in Prototype Bay. Training Carlos and May to run rapid response better than I could. That wasn't luck. That was skill. Morrison's face was red. You think you're better than us? No, I think I work as hard as anyone here. Maybe harder. And I think I've earned my position through results, not connections. Ryan stepped closer. But if you think you can do better, Morrison, my door's always open. Bring me ideas. Show me solutions. Prove me wrong. I'd love nothing more than to promote someone who outworks me. Morrison had no response. He stalked off and the crowd dispersed. Carlos caught up with Ryan later. That was handled perfectly. Was it? I feel like I made an enemy. You stood your ground without being a jerk about it. That's exactly what a leader does. Carlos clapped him on the shoulder. Morrison's been bitter for years. He's pissed because he thinks seniority should equal promotion. But he's wrong. Results matter. Character matters. You showed everyone that today. That night, Ryan got home to find Amanda's car in his driveway. She was sitting on his porch steps with Sophie, the two of them eating ice cream cones. Ms. Brooks brought me ice cream, Sophie announced. Triple chocolate? I heard about your confrontation with Morrison, Amanda said. Wanted to check if you're okay. I'm fine, just part of the job, I guess. It is, but it's not easy. She stood up. Sophie, would you give me and your dad a minute? Sophie skipped inside, still working on her ice cream. You handled that situation perfectly, Amanda said. Confident but not arrogant. Firm but not aggressive. That's not easy to do. Didn't feel perfect. Felt like I was making it up as I went. That's leadership. Nobody has all the answers. We're all just figuring it out as we go. She looked at him. You're going to be great at this job, Ryan. I know it. I just need you to believe it too. I'm trying. Try harder. She smiled to soften it. Also, there's something else I wanted to talk to you about. The board is hosting a gala next month. Fundraiser for technical education scholarships. Big event. Press will be there. I need you to come. Bring Sophie if you want. It'll be boring, but it's important for visibility. A gala, like with tuxedos and everything. Exactly like that. Ryan groaned. I don't even own a tuxedo. We'll get you one. It's on the company. Consider it a uniform. Amanda started toward her car, then turned back. Ryan, thank you. For what? For being my friend, not just my employee. For reminding me that it's possible to be successful without losing your soul. For proving my father right about everything. Her voice got soft. I don't have many friends. People who see me as just a person instead of a CEO or an opportunity. You do that. It means more than you know. She left before Ryan could respond. The gala was exactly as boring as promised. 300 people in formal wear making small talk and drinking expensive wine. Ryan felt completely out of place in his rented tuxedo. Sophie, in a dress Amanda had helped pick out, was having the time of her life. Dad, there's so much food and it's all fancy. Can I try the shrimp? Sure, kiddo. Try whatever you want. Ryan was standing by the dessert table when a man in his 60s approached. Distinguished looking. Expensive suit. The kind of person who was used to being important. You're Ryan Carter, the man said. Yes, sir. I'm Robert Mitchell. I sit on the board here. I wanted to meet the man who's got everyone talking. Ryan shook his hand. Nice to meet you. I'll be direct. When Amanda first proposed promoting you to VP, I voted against it. Thought it was too fast. Too risky. Thought she was letting personal feelings cloud her judgment. Mitchell paused. I was wrong. Oh. I've been watching you these past few months. The way you work, the way you lead, the way people respond to you. You're exactly what this company needs. Someone who hasn't been corrupted by corporate politics. Someone who still remembers what real work looks like. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me, just keep doing what you're doing. And between you and me, Mitchell leaned in. There's talk of Amanda becoming CEO of the Billionaire Corporation. If that happens, someone will need to run Brooks Automotive. Keep proving yourself, and that someone could be you. Mitchell walked away, leaving Ryan stunned. CEO of the entire company. That was impossible. That was insane. Sophie appeared with a plate full of desserts. Dad, try this chocolate thing. It's amazing. Ryan took a bite. It was amazing. He looked around the gala at all these successful, powerful people, and somehow, impossibly, he was one of them now. Amanda found them near the end of the night. Having fun. Sophie is, Ryan said. I'm surviving. That's all anyone can ask. Amanda knelt down to Sophie's level. What did you think, Sophie? Pretty fancy, huh? It's nice, but I like when Dad cooks at home better. Amanda laughed. A real laugh. Smart kid. You should listen to her, Ryan. As they were leaving, Sophie asked, Do you think Mom would be proud of you? Ryan stopped, looked down at his daughter. I hope so. I think she would be. You help people, just like she did. Just like she taught you to. Ryan hugged her tight. Come on, kiddo, let's go home. 6 months later, the announcement came. Amanda was being promoted to CEO of the parent corporation. And Ryan Carter, who 1 year ago had been fixing a stranger's car in the rain, was named CEO of Brooks Automotive. The press conference was huge. National media? The story had gone viral. Single dad helps CEO become CEO himself. It was the kind of story people loved. Proof that good things happen to good people. That kindness matters. That integrity pays. Stood at the bio podium with Sophie beside him, Amanda on his other side, and told his story one more time. But this time he ended it differently. People ask me what the secret is. How did an unemployed mechanic become a CEO in a year? And the answer is simple. I didn't change. I just stayed who I was. Did the work. Helped people. Made decisions based on what was right, not what was easy. Ryan looked at the cameras, at the reporters, at the world watching. That's available to everyone. You don't need luck. You don't need connections. You just need to be someone worth believing in. Someone who does what they say. Someone who shows up even when it's hard. The rest takes care of itself. Afterward, in Amanda's office, soon to be his office, they shared a quiet moment. Your father would be proud, Ryan said. He would be. Of both of us. Amanda handed him a folder. This is for you. My father's notes. Ideas he had for the company. Dreams he never got to fulfill. Maybe you can make them happen. Ryan opened the folder. Page after page of handwritten notes, sketches, plans. The vision of a man who believed business could be a force for good. I'll do my best, Ryan promised. I know you will. That's why I'm not worried. Amanda smiled. Take care of this place, Ryan. Take care of our people. Keep it the company my father built. I will. 6 months after that, Ryan was in his office, the CEO's office, still weird to think about when Sophie video called him from school. Dad. Guess what? What, kiddo? I got picked to give a speech at graduation about someone who inspires me. Can I write it about you? Ryan's throat got tight. You don't have to. I want to, because you're the best person I know. You stop to help people. You work hard. You're nice to everyone, even when they're mean to you. You're exactly what Mom said a good person should be. After she hung up, Ryan sat in his office and cried. Good tears. Grateful tears. He thought about that rainy morning, about seeing a stranger stranded on a highway, about the choice he'd made that cost him everything and gave him everything. Some people called it fate. Some called it karma. Some called it luck. Ryan just called it right, because at the end of the day, that's all he'd done. The right thing. Even when it was hard. Even when it cost him. Even when he didn't know if it would work out. And somehow, impossibly beautifully, it had worked out better than he ever could have imagined. Not because good things always happen to good people. They don't. Life isn't fair and the universe doesn't keep score. But because when you live with integrity, when you treat people with kindness, when you show up and do the work, even when nobody's watching, you become the kind of person people want to believe in. Want to help. Want to see succeed. And that Ryan had learned makes all the difference. His phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Dinner tonight, my treat. I want to hear about Sophie's speech. Ryan smiled and typed back. Sounds good. See you at 7. He stood and walked to his window. Looked down at the factory floor where 250 people were building things that mattered. Where Carlos and May were training new hires. Where Derek was consulting on a prototype problem. Where life was happening. where his life had changed because he'd stopped to help a stranger. Ryan's father used to say that the best investments you can make are in people, that relationships matter more than money. That integrity is the only thing you take with you when you go. Emma used to say that helping people is never a waste, that kindness is strength, that doing right is its own reward. They'd both been right, and now Ryan got to prove it every single day. He walked out of his office down to the factory floor and got to work. Because titles didn't change who he was. Money didn't change what he valued. Success didn't mean he stopped being the guy who helped strangers on rainy highways. If anything, it meant he had more opportunities to help, more resources to make a difference, more proof that the way his parents had raised him actually worked. That evening at dinner with Amanda, she raised her glass. "To the best decision I ever made," she said, "lying about my name to a stranger." Ryan laughed and raised his own glass. "To the best decision I ever made, stopping to help that stranger." They clinked glasses. Two people whose lives had intersected for 10 minutes on a rainy highway and changed everything. "You know what's funny?" Amanda said. "If my car hadn't broken down that day, none of this happens. You probably don't get the job. I probably get voted out by the board. The company probably goes in a completely different direction. Everything happens for a reason." "No, I think everything happens randomly, but sometimes if we're lucky and we make the right choices, the random things line up in beautiful ways." She smiled. "We both made the right choice that day, Ryan. You chose to stop. I chose to call you back, and look where it got us. Pretty far from that highway. Pretty far indeed." They talked for hours about the company, about Sophie, about Amanda's new role and Ryan's adjustment to being CEO, about the future they were building together. When Ryan got home that night, Sophie was already asleep. He checked on her, pulled her blanket up, kissed her forehead. "We're okay, Soph," he whispered. "We're really okay." And they were more than okay. They were thriving, building a life, making a difference. All because one rainy morning, Ryan Carter had made a choice. To stop, to help, to do what his wife and his father and his own conscience told him was right. Sometimes the most important appointments are the ones you miss. Because stopping to help someone can change everything. Not just for them, but for you too. And in the end, that's the only investment that truly matters. Not money or success or titles or fame. Just being someone who stops when they see someone who needs help. Someone who chooses right even when it costs them everything. Someone who proves day after day that kindness and integrity and basic human decency still matter in this world. That's who Ryan Carter was on that rainy highway. And that's who he remained even after everything changed. Because real character doesn't change with circumstances. It just gets more opportunities to show itself. And Ryan's character had proven itself over and over again. That was the real story. Not rags to riches, not luck or fate or karma. Just a man who stopped to help a stranger and never stopped being the kind of person worth believing in. And somehow that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.